Salut, my name is Daniel. I am a PhD student in the Biomedical Image Analysis group at Imperial College London, and I am presenting a paper titled Image Registration via Stochastic Gradient Markov Chain Monte Carlo, which I worked on with Bernhard, Ben and Loic. Why Bayesian image registration? It is often avoided due to the theoretic challenges and the computational overhead. However, in order to fully explore the parameter space and to lessen the impact of ad hoc hyperparameter choices, which is especially important when it comes to uncertainty quantification, it is good to be a Bayesian. In machine learning literature, there was recently a lot of work on SGM-CMC in particular, as a computationally efficient MCMC method, which makes it possible to sample from the posterior distribution exactly. The use of SGM-CMC allowed us to draw exact samples an order of magnitude faster than other recent work which made use of MCMC for non-rigid image registration, with our method working on 3 rather than 2-dimensional images. Now some details. In Bayesian models, the regularization strength parameter can either be fixed or learned from data. The latter has been done successfully only in the context of transformation parameterizations with a relatively low number of degrees of freedom, for example B-splines or a sparse learnable parameterization. In case of a dense stationary velocity field, where the number of degrees of freedom is orders of magnitude higher, the problem is even more difficult. Here, we specified a log-normal prior on the scalar regularization energy and used it to derive a prior on the velocity field. Because the problem is so difficult, we had to use semi-informative hyperpriors on the parameters of the scalar regularization energy prior. This is sample output when using a fixed regularization weight, the baseline method for learnable regularization strength, and our loss. For the baseline, which corresponds to an uninformative gamma prior, the regularization strength is so high that it prevents alignment of the images, showing that the existing schemes for inferring regularization strength from data are inadequate in cases with a very large number of degrees of freedom. In the top row, you can see the fixed image and the displacement corresponding to the mean transformation, and on the bottom, the work moving image. From left to right, output for 2 different values of fixed regularization strength, the baseline method, and our proposed loss. We then use stochastic gradient Langevin dynamics to establish an efficient posterior sampling algorithm. Given a sufficient number of steps, SGLD puts no restrictions on how the Markov chain is initialized, but in order to lower the mixing time, we initialized it to the output of variational inference, where we assume that the approximate posterior distribution of the transformation parameters is simply a multivariate normal distribution, with a covariance matrix being the sum of diagonal and low-rank parts. We use the reparameterization trick with 2 samples per update to backpropagate with respect to the parameters of the approximate variational posterior. In order to make optimization less susceptible to undesired local minima, we also took advantage of Sobolev gradients. It is worth noting that SGM-CMC is not only more computationally efficient than other MCMC algorithms, for example Gibbs sampling or Metropolis Hastings, but also easier to use in practice thanks to compact update equation which you can see on the slide. On the bottom of the slide, you can see the statistics of dice scores and average surface distances for a number of subcortical structures, calculated using 50 samples when running the model on an example pair of input images. These are proof that the posterior samples output by SGLD are varied and of high quality. The code is available on GitHub and could be interesting especially to those of you wishing to implement SGM-CMC sampling in PyTorch or to use Sobolev gradients in backprop. If you would like to hear more, do join me at the virtual poster session. Thank you for your attention.